So I suppose the first one, everything that you've been through this year, what's one thing that you've appreciated with training now that you probably took for granted before your injury?
I think it's pretty easy to take for granted just actually being able to train normally. Like, you might have a hard session or a rainy day or something, but actually being able to train, like, obviously each time I had surgery, I was in hospital for 4 or 5 days and seeing people in there just like happy to be able to walk down the hallway. It's like just taking it for granted, just being healthy and actually being able to push your body and do exercise, like we do. It's definitely changed my perspective.
Yeah, it's pretty easy to say, oh, I don't feel like running today. But when you haven't run for a few weeks, it's amazing how quickly we forget how much we do miss the sport. So, yeah, that's certainly true. You're back into some good sessions now and you're training well. How do you feel your best form is and what do you still think that is a work in progress with what you've got coming up?
So I guess with the accident and surgeries, etc., I've had a bit of time to step back and just focus on some more technical aspects. But definitely the fitness still has a little bit to go. I had the last surgery about a couple of weeks ago now to get the plate out of my elbow. So I'm back in the pool from last week. So just starting swimming after, 3-4 months off. Definitely feels a little bit different, but no, it's progressing nicely and hopefully we can be on a start line maybe in October.
Nice. And I suppose just touching on that a little bit for people that probably don't know what's happened, just talk us a little bit through the accident and just what did happen and the outcome after the crash.
Yeah, so I was doing a race in China and the day after the race, we were just out for an easy spin and about 50 meters into the ride, it's just going super slow, just past a parked car and quite far from the car too. And just the guy like kicked his door open, it just clipped the edge of my bars and I obviously came down but super slow and I just landed right on the point of my elbow and it fractured the end of my elbow off. So I had surgery that day in China, came back to New Zealand and 4 or 5 weeks later it was still leaking fluid, turned out to be infected inside. So had another surgery and then obviously on antibiotics this whole time and then it actually got infected again. But by that stage, the bone had healed. So they were able to take all the plates and screws and stuff out a couple of weeks ago. And now I've got a week more of antibiotics. So then we should be good after that.
I think from the outside looking out, I don't think people realize what the athletes go through, and it's just not as simple as having a surgery and getting back on the bike and that sort of thing. So it's amazing that, like, obviously very fit and very healthy, so your recovery is great, but it just shows you the challenges that you have to go through. And has the accident changed the way you race or train? Obviously you haven't raced yet. Do you think you'll approach things different than what you did before?
I'm not quite sure I'll approach it differently. I think run some racing, I'll be obviously pretty stoked to be back out there again. But I guess just being happy to actually be able to train and push myself again. Like you might have a slightly rough session and you're sort of beating yourself up about it. But now I'm just like stoked to be out there getting better each week, taking the small wins, not digging into, was I 5 watts better than my best, worse than my best or something like that. So I'm just appreciating it and like the process of just getting back to good fitness and yeah, quite enjoying the journey at the moment.
Yeah, it's good to put a perspective on things, isn't it? Sometimes a little setback like that. But I suppose in saying that, every athlete has that session that they dread. What's one of the workouts on your program that you sort of sit here and you look at it and you go like, oh, yeah, I remember this one and here we go again on that session? Is there one that stands out?
It's probably more so like we swim with a swim squad here and sometimes they'll be training for a meet coming up and they might be doing shorter stuff. And us triathletes kind of fit in where we can, but some afternoons I've gone in there and I might have already done 4 or 5 hours of training and I'm the only triathlete there. And he's like, oh, Mike, this session's no good for you, training for Ironman. It ends up being like 3K straight, pretty much, leaving on 120 pace of just like 800, 600, 400, 800, 600, 400. Just by myself, man, like when you're tired, it seems like the longest session. It seems like I'm in there for 4 hours swimming, especially when you don't really know it's coming. Like sometimes I walk in there and it's like you don't know what you're getting. So that one's definitely a bit of a chore, but I know it's good to be doing and something I actually need to do.
Yeah, we're a bit privileged to have those swim squads, aren't we? But it's nothing like going in there on a Monday when we've had a massive weekend and the swimmers have had the Sunday off and they're fresh and they don't realise that you've just had the biggest weekend. You've got to turn around and do a threshold or heart rate session on a Monday. But as you said, it's definitely the joys of being in a good squad.
Yeah, man, there's definitely a few Mondays I'm kind of peeling myself out of bed, feel like a real zombie. And literally when I dive in, I'm not sure if I'm going to come back up. It just feels like just stay on the bottom of the pool. Yeah, you get through them. It's good having other guys there, that are fresh to actually push it along, keep the motivation high.
That's it. Shared pain's half the pain, mate. If you could choose one discipline to train for the rest of the month, be it swim, bike, or run, which would you pick, and why would you pick that discipline?
It would definitely have to be the bike, I'd say. I do definitely enjoy the 3 different disciplines at different times, but I feel like on the bike you can cover a lot of different terrain, see a lot of things. It's pretty easy to kill 5 hours on the bike, but there's no way I could do that kind of time on the pool or on my feet running. Yeah, definitely enjoy the bike. Around here in Christchurch too, we have such great trails and roads. We're able to go out on the gravel bike or the mountain bike or the road bike, so heaps of options, heaps of variants, see a lot of stuff. Yeah, definitely the bike.
Yeah, you definitely live in a great part of the world for that discipline, that's for sure. Yeah, so I suppose what's one piece of advice you give to athletes who are dealing with an injury or a setback and struggling to stay motivated? I suppose, especially this time of year in the Southern Hemisphere where there's not a lot of races on and it's the deep of winter and all that. Have you got any tips that helped you get through it?
There's definitely a few times where I was trying to get back into training. I definitely stepped back into it a bit too fast, and I was like, oh, yeah, good now. I'll just go back to my normal program. And then, of course, a week later, I'd come home and I'd wake up at like 2 a.m. just in sweats, like with a fever. And I'm like, man, I just need to like take a small win. So just like anything you can do that's better than the week before and just slow progression, I think that's really important. It's so easy to get carried away with, what you're doing 6 months ago. But just the small steps, not getting too carried away. Just consistent progress, I think. It's definitely helped me in the last few weeks since that last surgery, just been slowly stepping it back up.
Yeah, definitely great advice. I think as athletes, sometimes we can jump back in too quick, but yeah, it is a long game sometimes. With that, what's something about your daily routine or recovery that athletes would be surprised to learn?
I think it's probably surprising to a lot of people that there's not really any magic recipe. It's really quite boring. It's just doing all the good stuff well, sleep well, recover well, take the supplements you need, don't overdo it, don't overtrain or underfuel, etc. Just doing all the good things well and consistently. I think that's really the unremarkable thing that's a lot of pros are doing well.
A couple of just quick fire rapid questions. Coffee before training or after?
Definitely before. Yeah, I'm not sure I'd be able to train before a coffee.
Indoor training or outdoor training?
Definitely outdoor. Unless it's snowing, then maybe indoor.
Early morning session or are you an afternoon session kind of guy?
Probably early morning. Yeah, it's good to get it done. You feel pretty good if you've knocked out, 4 or 5 hours before lunchtime and the rest of the day's yours. But yeah, it doesn't often turn out that way. Often I'm out running in the dark. So
favorite post-training meal?
Salmon bagel, I reckon. Just, good, fueling a lot with all the sugary stuff throughout the thing. So just coming in and having some pretty normal food, I think, especially if you've got your fueling and stuff right.
Looking ahead, what excites you most about the rest of the season, and what goals do you most have you determined to achieve in the back half of the season?
So I should be able to get back racing in the next month or two. And there's still quite a decent calendar for us leading into the end of the year with a few sort of 70.3 half iron distance races and obviously the Busso Asia Pacific champ. That's definitely kind of penciled in the calendar at the moment. We'll be aiming for those ones.
A lot of the Aid Station team and family have missed seeing you out on course. So it'd be great to see you at some of these back half of the season races. And yeah, look, it is a long year and there's still plenty of races to come. So I think everyone's excited to see you get out there, especially a few home races on home soil here or the Australian side of things. So yeah, it's great to have you back into it. And we appreciate your time to sit down and have a chat with us today.